to the Coast of Distinct podcast. This is your boy DJ KO. I'm glad you guys tuned back into the show. Look, we here at the very beginning of the year. This is our first show of the year, so this guest has to be something special. You dig what I'm saying? So before we even get started, I'd like to thank you guys who tuned in. I'd like to thank you guys who send comments. I'd like to thank you guys who reach out to us, that talk noise to us, that talk crazy. For the last couple episodes, I've been preaching, so I'm in my preaching mode for this year. So y'all get ready for the word. So I'll come in with a word today. All right. I got a surprise for y'all. We got our co-host back, K Jack. She been I don't know, on AWOL. Where you been at?
Making money.
Oh, that what it is? Well, we need some over here. You know what I'm saying? This is a new year.
Get in the bag.
We got
a bag for me over here?
Oh, yeah. We always got it.
Okay. That's why I'm back.
Well, look, the bag ain't got no money in it, but they got a bag.
It's hanging on the wall.
Right. You got an empty bag. We had a bag of money. But yeah, I'm glad to see you back. Happy New Year to everybody.
Glad to be back.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Blessings. So, everybody, look, we have a special show for you guys today. We have a special guest in the building today. You might have seen this individual in the Houston streets in a positive way, reaching out to the community. I can say in a positive way, right?
Appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah,
reaching out to the community. I like everybody. Welcome to the show. Look, Danielle Bess. Hey. Bess. Did I say that all right? Bess, wear your mask. Wear your mask. Nah. Danielle, what's going on? How you doing today, sister?
I am doing amazing. Glad to be in 2022.
Awesome.
Amen. A lot of folks didn't make it over here with
Amen.
us, so it's
That's
a
right.
good thing to be in a new year.
Better to
You
be
know what?
seen and viewed.
Amen.
Are you saying that? I was singing the song on the way up here by the Winans. It was like millions didn't make it.
Yes.
But I'm so glad I'm here. Oh, I'm preaching early. I told y'all. Hold on.
Stay ready for church.
Hey. So look, Danielle.
Please.
I shouldn't have said that.
Do not encourage.
Hey.
But I do, though.
It's okay.
So look, Danielle. First of all, before we get started, I want to ask you. Did you have a New Year's resolution? And if so, what was it?
My New Year's resolution, last year's was stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Okay.
So I was laying a lot of the framework for what I wanted to see change in my life, change in my community, change in my family. Mm-hmm. So this year is reaping the fruits of that labor from the work that I've put in and the steps that I've taken and watching the fruit grow and continuing to water and nurture those things that we put in place.
That's awesome. KJ, what about you? Because I ain't seen you in about, what?
4 days.
Nah, it's been about 4 months. Where you been at? What's your resolution?
Behind that preposition that you put at the end of that sentence.
Months.
Where you been at? You
Been at.
You can't end a
I'm
sentence
from
with a
Louisiana. I gotta
preposition.
stop it. Okay.
Cannot.
Okay.
Anyway.
You acting all Texas on me right now. Don't do that.
No, my mom used to do that when we was little. Where it's at? Behind the preposition.
Where they
Not
at?
in
Where
the
they at?
sentence.
Where they at?
But I don't really do resolutions.
Okay.
I just try to make changes where there is a need to make them. And just working on myself and my journey, trying to practice what I preach in work, in therapy, and utilizing more of what I say. I have actually come to the conclusion a lot of assignments I give my patients, I constantly have to give the assignment. Now I understand why, because it's not as easy to make some of those changes when you talk about coping skills and, oh, Lord, just techniques to get past and beyond certain situations. So I'm working on just growth in self.
So growth, basically,
growth.
for New Year's. Let's go. That's awesome. So, Danielle, let's get back to you.
Yes.
So, for the people that don't know Miss Bess, who is Miss Bess? Where is she from? How long she's been in Houston? Is she a Houstonian? What is it? Who is Miss Bess?
I am a Houstonian. I was born in Houston at St. Joseph's Hospital.
Shout out to Houston. Shout out to Houston. Hey. All right.
Yes. So I am born and raised in Houston. I grew up in Missouri City, and I am currently a resident of 3rd Ward.
Okay.
I've been a resident here for, this year makes 13 years. My husband and I moved in because I was working here. He worked in the district that we live. And we said we need to be close and we need to be in the district where we're serving and working to be a part of the community and the change that we want to see.
Yes. So speaking about the community, I know it's a lot of community activism going on at the beginning of the year. And speaking of Third Ward, I know Third Ward because I'm not from here. I'm from, that place called New Orleans,
I love New Orleans.
I won't put the bounce beat on. I won't do that. But as far as revitalization in the community, right? I know Third Ward is one of those places. When I first moved here, Third Ward wasn't a place where it was developed. Now it is. Right.
No,
it was developed. It wasn't.
So you have to say revitalization or is it gentrification? Because there's a difference in the two.
There is a difference, and I appreciate you using the word revitalization.
Right, and I was about to say they like to say gentrification, but I like revitalization better because we can't gentrify an area.
Correct.
Okay.
Technically, correct. For a definition of what it is, we couldn't technically gentrify Third Ward. I don't care how much money you have, you can't gentrify Third Ward. You would have to revitalize. Correct. So there's a difference.
Which I'm an advocate for.
Yeah,
revitalization.
Yes.
We've helped move people back into the neighborhood who grew up in the neighborhood. We've built over 100 new single-family homes.
Okay.
And placed professionals that were being priced out. So how you do that is you take TERS dollars or affordable dollars to subsidize the lots, to make the lots affordable, and they can live just as close to downtown as some of the more wealthier neighbors or counterparts. And so, but it moves them down the street probably from their elderly grandmother who needs care. She doesn't want to not be independent, but she needs a little bit more of a closer, accessible family member. So it keeps the family in the neighborhood. Right. So I love, love, love revitalization.
So you use the term revitalization, but gentrification. But so speaking to what your terms, you said gentrification. It's two types of gentrification to me.
To you.
Right. But I'm saying it is because you have economic gentrification and you have race gentrification, right? So I think that Third Ward is more of a economic gentrification because you have a lot of people who have kind of, I guess, a certain number, what they make or what they're, what they have in their pocket, and they're moving to Third Ward.
Well, really, it's not a lot of people moving into Third Ward.
Okay.
Being that I may have grown up out in Missouri City, all of my activities like church, my mom is a TSU graduate.
Okay.
The summer programs, etiquette schools, training, we did all of that in Third Ward.
Okay.
And so I knew the people that lived in the community. They were teachers. They were professors at the university. They were engineers. They were very successful people that lived in the neighborhood. So they really didn't move. It's just that people now have put value back into Third Ward at a greater level than when, someone grew up in the area and they said, oh, the suburbs always have, the nice bow on it, so it looks more attractive. They do all of the things that make it attractive. You move out, and then your commute is a little longer than what you were used to. When you're in the city, everything's 5 to 15 minutes away. You go to the suburbs, everything's 20 to 40 minutes away.
Absolutely.
So then they try to get back in, but you kind of left your spot. Now you're trying to get back in. The cost of living is higher. Yeah. So they've been there. A lot of families still own their family homes and things like that. They may use them as rent properties and things like that. But it's always been a very thriving neighborhood. I mean, it's home to Beyonce. I mean,
is she from Third Ward?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Where'd you think she was from?
I knew she was from Houston, but I didn't know she was from Third Ward. I thought she was like Fifth Ward or something like that.
That's why on her album she's Mrs. Third Ward.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that.
As a DJ, you didn't pay attention?
I didn't know her background. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
You didn't put it in the mix.
Shout out to Beyonce. Shout out to Beyonce being from Houston Third Ward. Hey. So look, let me ask you this: as far as your upbringing, because I heard you say something about you grew up with your parents and they had to instill certain values in you. Who instilled that value to give back to the community, give back to your community? Because a lot of us, well, I'm saying us, I'm talking about black people. Yes. Once we get our little, we get our little money, we go into the suburbs, let them people over there do what they do.
Yes, well, my parents are older parents. My dad was born in 1938. He's no longer with us.
Wow.
And my mom was born close to it. I'm not going to put her on blast. My mama protect your age. Not that she would care, but just in case.
Is she a fine mama?
She is fine.
Hey,
yes,
hey, mama.
Bad.
Hey, y'all.
But my grandmother on my dad's side was a seamstress. And my grandmother on my mother's side, my maternal grandmother, she owned a diner. And this was all in segregation. So, one of the things that segregation did is that we had true community. because that was all that we could have. You know, you had to buy from the black grocer because that's the only grocery store you were allowed to go to.
Right.
You had to go to the black seamstress because that was the only seamstress you were allowed to go to.
Right.
So we had a very good sense of community growing up. So, and the thing is, when you're young, you don't realize who the people that you're dealing with are in real time.
Right.
Because, you know, my mom, that was just Uncle so-and-so or Auntie so-and-so. But I didn't know Uncle so-and-so had the only black bank in the neighborhood where we were going in and my mom was doing her transactions. I didn't realize that. You know, I just knew they talked trash, you know, together and they would have a good time, laugh. But they were creating economic value in the community and supporting each other and making sure that they were first on the list for recommendations and referrals for other business opportunities. So that has always been a network. But one of the stories that my mom tells us, because I'm a history buff, so I love everything about history and how we got to where we are. My grandmother, people would, because she owned a diner, people knew that they could go to her house to get a plate of food or take a bath. And
yeah, like you said,
my
community.
mom said, as a little girl, she asked her, she said, well, Mama, why do you keep letting these people in my house? You know, and or she let them eat on the porch and they go on their way. She said, my mom is one of 10. I'm from a huge family. I have 50 first cousins. And my grandmother
50?
said, 50 first cousins.
That's amazing.
And she said, well, I don't know when somebody will need to help my children. So I help somebody else's child.
Right.
Okay.
In retrospect, right? Because that's how you receive, you know, not just blessings for yourself. Yes.
You plant a seed.
But when your child is in need, you want somebody to feed them when they're hungry or allow them a warm bath. So that has always resonated with me because I always think, you know, what you reap is what you sow. You know, you could put some good seeds down and it may not come in the time that you think, but it is always on time.
Hallelujah.
I've never been without in great deal. I may not have had everything I wanted, but I've always had what I've needed. But that is very intentional.
That's dope. You know what? That's what you just said is something that we've been missing for like the last 40, 50 years. Segregation happened in the 70s, right?
But she's speaking of a time when you had black bank in the area, restaurant, diner, things like that. These are the pillars of the Green Book that is no longer necessary, but it was how African Americans had to travel. You had to use this to be able to travel. So if someone came from Alabama to Houston, you had to use that Green Book to function. You had to know where you could and you couldn't go.
But we still had remnants of that when we were growing up. Because that was when I was a little girl. The bank is now closed. It's no longer active. We're still members of a minority African American-owned bank. But how do we keep that wealth in the community, right? And continuous, like generationally, where it doesn't stop at one generation. But we have to make sure that we're protecting ourselves short-term and long-term.
Right.
You know?
Right.
For those pictures, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing and running for this seat. Because you have to have a strategy and a plan in place. Because if you don't, what do they say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right, that's right.
And that's a very simple concept, but it has to be unified and everybody has to move in synchronization.
As far as getting that generational wealth and having that dollar circle in our community multiple times, how can we get that mentally, old and young?
So it's certain things that you have to deal with, you know. You have to deal with education, and you have to be able to take care of people's basic needs, right?
Right.
If I take care of your basic needs, make sure that you have housing, that you have food, that you have opportunity, right?
Okay.
So that when you go to an interview, you have the ability to get the job.
Right.
Right. So right now there is the narrative of you have so many people not going back to work or not applying for jobs. Recently, towards the end of last year, someone tested that theory. They applied to 60 jobs.
Okay.
It wasn't in the state of Texas, but I believe it was maybe in Florida. Applied to 60 jobs. They got 2 calls back.
Wow.
So it can't be that people don't want the job, right?
There's no jobs being
And
offered.
I'm glad that he took the test, you know, or put it to the test, because then it dispels that myth that there are blockades even in employment opportunities when people are looking. So then this person applies for 60 jobs. They only get 2 callbacks. They don't get the job in the 2 callbacks that they get. You put them in a hardship.
Right.
And when people are in a hardship, they make it harder on their neighbors. They make it harder on their families. They make it harder on the communities because you haven't met a basic need, right? And it's making sure that you have those opportunities in place, and making sure that you have equal opportunity to that. Affirmative actions that we have, our state is moving away from those things.
Well, now you have diversity and inclusion, and I know several people who get contacted through like LinkedIn and those types of platforms, and they're saying they're having to tell recruiters up front, if you are contacting me to meet your quota for D&I, keep it moving. Do not just, and then when you say giving people what they need, which is Maslow's hierarchy of life, just giving people their basic needs. When did jobs get to this point of having like 6 interviews to get a job? You have to go through a recruiter, then you have to go through like 3 or 4 interviews. Like, when did it become so cumbersome to
and
get
you still
employment?
Might recruit bad talent with all of that.
Absolutely.
And you still don't have a good workplace environment for that person.
Right.
And I don't know the answer to that. But I want to find out why do we have that, right? And where does it start? Because you have so many things, like even though we don't have formal segregation anymore, you have it economically.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. You see the line. You see the line.
I Googled gentrification and just revitalization. There's one definition for gentrification, and then there's also another bullet point, and it says the process of making someone or something more refined, polite, or respectable.
That's gentrification.
That's gentrification. That's one of the definitions. The other one
was that Webster?
The process.
Or was that the Negro gentrification?
No, this is the dictionary.
Okay.
This is Google.
Okay.
The process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process, and the process of making someone or something more refined, polite, or respectable.
And I believe in revitalization without displacement.
Yep.
That is critical.
I like that.
Because eventually if you continue to gentrify certain areas, you begin to move poor people out or working class out of the area, and you make it a playground for the rich. So you have no balance in the inner city.
Okay.
So there are many metropolitan areas that have done that, and they literally had middle-class professionals. I'm talking about engineers. I'm talking about entry-level professionals, whether they be attorneys or not. They were homeless, or they had to live in a roommate scenario of 4 people just to afford rent.
Like in California.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so you have those events that are taking place. So it can't be that they weren't polite. It can't be that they weren't educated, but they were not the decision makers.
Right.
Where they were, or didn't have the ability to make the influence and change needed to make the opportunity more affordable to them. And so you have to have leadership in place that's looking at the whole landscape. Not the current, not their personal agenda, right?
A lot of
you
people
have
that.
to think about others. And so as I move forward with this task or with this opportunity to serve, I keep reminding people that I have no desire to be a politician.
Okay.
I intend to be a representative. There's a very big difference.
What's the difference? Hold on. What's the difference of that? Because I want you to say that again, because you said you have no intent of being a politician.
Right.
You want to be a representative.
Correct.
So to some, from the outside looking in, a politician is a representative, vice versa.
You should be.
Right.
But I think politicians, in my personal definition, have a mix of agendas.
Okay.
Right? So it's some of what the people want that keeps them in office.
Right.
And then some of what they want. To
a lot of what they want.
More of what they want and
to
some of what the people want.
Correct. And
very little of what is needed.
And I'm not saying that we don't have public servants out there that are doing the job and doing it well and representing well. And I work with and work alongside a lot of them.
Okay.
But I think sometimes you need some fresh ideas and some shaking up.
A lot of
to be a reminder of what we're here for and what we're to do. So when you're representing someone, you're taking their needs to the Capitol or to wherever your elected seat is. And my mom used to say, if you help people get what they want, they'll help you get what you want.
Absolutely.
She said, never focus on yourself. Never chase money.
Right.
Money will come. When you do your job and you do it well. My mom said, I don't care if it's cleaning floors. If you clean floors good, you're going to get what you want.
Right.
Do your job and do it well. Do it in excellence. And it will return to you. Maybe not in the time, Maybe not in the way you thought, but it will come back.
Okay.
And it'll be just right.
Well, that's
just
the
what you
principle.
need.
That's like a principle, though. That's the principle that God gave. I'm going back to my spiritual mode now.
Yeah.
But that's the principle. Like you said earlier, you say you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't sow it, you can't reap it.
But so many people want it so quickly.
Correct.
They want it so fast. We were talking before we started about how you have people who may have a portfolio of $100 million and the market crashes and they're down to 500 million and they feel like the world is just over, to the point of suicide.
Yes.
To the point they're just desolate, they're distraught. And I've seen even cases of that being enough trauma to cause a psychotic break. And then their mind is no longer the same to balance the portfolio anyway. But we've become a place of just instant gratification.
Correct.
And it's not just the millennials anymore.
Instagram, man. Instagram is a big one.
Wants
social
instant
media
gratification. Everyone wants it to happen now. They want it quick.
I was
just
talking
and they want it
about
all.
remember before cell phones, because cell phones really set us off,
Girl.
right?
Yes.
When you would have car issues, you would have to pull over, and at that time, people would help you.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you need anything? Do you need me to take you? What do you need? Do you need gas? Is it your tire? They would either help you change your tire, they'll take you to get a can of gas, or take you to the nearest phone where you could call somebody help, because you didn't have the cell phone to readily call somebody.
Can't find a payphone.
And I had an issue with my car where it was messing up on my way home, and I pulled over, and I'm in the neighborhood, and nobody stopped.
No.
Nobody looked. Nobody slowed down. And
Not even the police officers.
Not even the police officers.
Harris County has the people. They have the emergency people who will pull up, not on the city streets, just on like the interstate type places.
Correct.
But
Right.
and I don't know if they have drones or whatever to see that, the cameras.
Yeah.
But no one's stopping. Not even the police officers. They will ride past you.
And we are
Was it
losing
night?
a sense. It was during the day.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Okay.
thank God.
Anytime. It doesn't matter.
But we're losing a sense of community that I want us
Right.
to go back to,
Right.
because we're leaving a legacy for our children or the next generation. It needs to be something of value.
Right.
And when I'm talking about value, I'm talking about the things that are non-material, right?
Life. They have
Yes.
very little regard for life at this
Yes.
point. So it's like, if you have such little value on your life or life of humans in general, how much value could you put? They put more value on things. So I
Correct.
guess those things mean more than the life, but they don't think about the consequences and the repercussions beyond that,
Well,
that moment.
I want to be the devil's advocate. Can I be
course
messy?
you can.
I'm messy.
Go ahead.
I'm messy up here.
Come
Can I
on.
be
I need
messy?
to go back and look and see how you did this by yourself.
You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is this. I want to help out the young people, because, a lot of us older people and old people,
You say you want to be a mentor?
we look down on younger people because they have a different way about life or a different way of expressing themselves. So I'm a firm believer of this. We was all young before, and
Absolutely.
our parents was mad at what we did, the way we dressed, the way we danced,
But
our
they talk to
hairstyles.
us. Parents aren't talking to their children
But
anymore.
because
They're
I
sending
think parents
text
are.
messages.
I think parents are talking to their
They're sending
kids.
text messages from room to room.
Back then, they used to whip us, which was abuse.
Why do you think everything goes back to a whipping?
It was.
You must have got a
No.
We all got whippings.
He
Bad.
thinks mental health goes back to lack of whipping.
I'm telling you,
Everything
all that
happens
stuff.
behind a whipping.
Because it goes all the way back to what? Slavery.
For you.
Not for everybody. Well, our community. Anyway, that's another topic. But
Yeah,
but I want to be a devil.
So Danielle, let's talk about your seat. What's the seat you're running for, sis?
state
Let's go. Come on,
representative.
let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it before we go down that
Right.
path.
You have to know when
It
to
took a
hold them and
hard
fold them
turn.
with him. Girl.
Took a
That's how you
hard
know
turn.
he happy on
Shout out to all my
'cause
black people in 2022. We're gonna celebrate. We're gonna do it good. All right, we're gonna do it well. Let's go.
Yes. So I'm Danielle Bess, and I am running for Texas State Representative in District 147, which covers a very diverse community. It goes into the downtown area, 4th Ward, Midtown area, Montrose 3rd Ward, South Park, and
Okay.
Hobby area. So it kind of starts downtown, moves a little west, and goes southeast.
Okay. So why that area? Why 147?
That's where I am.
Why not?
I live there. I work there. I serve there. I go to church there. Everything that I do is in this district. And so it means a lot to me because this is where I am on a day-to-day basis. I'm not here going to work and I go home. And then I come back and tell people what they need to do. No, work here, I go 4 minutes up the road, I lay my head down, go 4 more minutes up the road, I go to church. A couple more minutes up the road, I'm at, the YMCA where I'm serving, or the different community organizations that I'm serving. And it's for my career as a realtor, that's where the majority of my listings are in the area as well.
So you really like you putting the due diligence in your community.
Yes, I'm on the ground floor.
That's why she said
I like that.
I'm on the ground
she
floor.
wanted to be in the district.
I like that.
It's one of my favorite places to be, on the ground floor, because that's where you hear everything, you see
love
everything.
So let me ask you this:
You know what's going on at the beat.
What is it? I'm saying, what is it about that? I know you from there, but like I said kind of earlier, people that are from certain areas, they kind of get away from it because they have, a bad moment or some bad experiences, or maybe one bad experience, and they just decide to leave. What is it about that area that you're just so passionate about?
It's rich with culture.
Okay.
It's rich with history. I always tell people, because I'm in real estate, look at your deed restrictions. It used to say that you couldn't live in this house.
Right.
You had to live in
That is
servants'
true.
quarters.
Yeah.
Because it was a Jewish community.
Mm.
And I say, but look, we about to sign a deed. You about to move in
That's
this
dope.
house.
Right.
That's progress.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay? So what has happened at the state level, voting rights, women's rights,
Well, they're trying to take that away.
we're
Texas.
not trying. They took it.
It took
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
They voted against it?
Yeah. Well, the DOG has a lawsuit on our state.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Right.
that.
For voting rights. Yes, because it goes against the Constitution.
right.
So you
illegal,
can't,
right?
you can't do that. But that's what concerned me, seeing that, and people playing games on my time
Right.
is disrespectful.
Right.
To have your own personal agenda for chasing money, chasing power, on my time, things that affect my way of life is critical. And it scared me. I said, no, my mom, my dad did too much to get us to where we are for us to revert back to the 60s.
Right.
Because pretty much you're saying we have to do this, we have to do that in order just to show up to the poll.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. So
That's
you're
Jim Crow.
suppressing the vote.
That's
You're
Jim Crow,
suppressing the
basically.
vote.
That's Jim Crow, basically.
You're
yeah.
suppressing the
And
vote.
you can't bring them water while they're in line.
You can't bring them water.
That part almost took
In
me
Texas
out.
heat.
Atlanta, in Georgia too. It almost took. You can't bring them water. Say what now? Oh, so you really hoping that people just get out of line and leave? That's,
Pretty much.
You just gonna put
discourage
it
them
out
to
there.
vote.
Absolutely.
And then in the more minority communities, it is harder to vote. The lines are longer. There are less voting polls. There are just a lot of different ways that it's being suppressed, where when you go to the suburbs or you go to more affluent communities, they're in and out. They can get back to work. And because we are more working class people in our community, you can't be gone from work more than your lunch break.
Right.
They want that 30 minutes to an hour is filled with your route to getting there and back
Right.
and eating.
Right.
Figure it out. And then you add voting in that time, or you're having to work overtime, and they're closing the polls immediately, stopping the line. Things like that.
Yep.
All of that plays a major role in our ability to have true representation.
Right. Right.
So voting rights, that's the nucleus of our democracy. That's the base of our civic duties. And when you can't have that, anybody can lead you at that point.
Yeah. It's the way the way I saw it on the news. I was like, man, this is crazy. They're going back to Jim Crow, and it's like, do they want black people to have rights again? Because eventually,
Good question.
what's going to happen is,
to have rights again, have we ever fully had them?
this is a whole other conversation. I could get
Right.
into it deep, but I could do that. We could take it back to the Constitution that black people are still not even considered
Right.
as 5/5 human.
Yeah.
We're still
Absolutely.
3/5,
Yeah,
so we
so
still
that's what
consider
I'm
that
saying. Of a
property.
man.
So
So they
Correct.
just still fighting to take back. They want they want back what they did give us.
Correct. We're
Basically.
dialing it back. Let's dial
Let's
it back,
dial it
a,
back. Yeah.
little bit,
right.
brazenly. That's the audacity of it is what's shocking to me.
Right.
It's not even trying to be undercover. It's kind of not kind of in your face. It is in your face. And so one of the things in my private time, my meditation, my devotion, being concerned about that, I said, Lord, use me like you used David to fight the figurative giants of our time. And then everything literally fell into place, for me. I'm not a career candidate. I'm not trying to see how many seats I can run for to do it. This is the seat. This is the race. that I know. I've worked with the office, like I said, on the revitalization efforts in the neighborhood. I'm on the ground floor. I see where people have problems, where they have issues, where they lack infrastructure, where there are food deserts. You know, you got to go 20 minutes from your house to get groceries. So make groceries, like they say.
So make groceries, right.
Yes.
So what is it? So Danielle, once you know, what I'm saying, when you run in, what is something that you want to bring back to 147?
I want to bring quality of life back to all of the parts of the community. Okay, we have parts of the community, of course, since we cover downtown, we see what that has done. You know, you have certain areas that are thriving, but you have a lot that are still lacking a lot of resources.
Absolutely.
That could be funded by the state. So my goal as a representative is to go to the state, strategically come up with a plan to get the job done, right? Because you have to look at all sides of the table, apply the necessary diplomacy needed to get the job done. Right. I don't want people seeing me, and even though I might disagree with you, I don't want to be viewed as disagreeable. Because I need you to vote. I need your vote. Yes. Right. I need your support, right? To bring the resources home. When we get the resources home, we can work out the details later. But get them here. Get them to the places where they need to go. You know, in the schools where they need to go, so that we can thrive and we can bring back a quality of life that was once here. And it's still here in a lot of places, but we're limited in some areas, right? Because we aren't the majority at the state. But I believe in opportunity, and I believe in change, and I believe that it comes to people who want it, right? You have to see it. You have to envision those things that you desire. And somebody said, well, Danielle, you can't do anything. We're not the majority. I said, I've never been able to do anything.
It's us. Right.
But I know who can.
Right. That's right. The
and
people.
I rock with them fully.
What do you see, or what do you take from or add to your platform to empower the people, the constituents of your district, to motivate them? Because we do know, after being beat down and told for so long, you have no voice, or treated like you don't have a voice, that you can't do, you will not do, you shouldn't do, it becomes a part of the way people live. So we know certain districts, certain areas, certain socioeconomic classes, age, it's just little work is done. So how do you set forth to just empower them?
So I want to make sure that in our public spaces that we have the right resources, not just in monetary things, but you want to make sure that the buildings, like let's talk about education, the buildings that are there. In some of the communities where you have schools that still have old pipes, lead pipes, they perform 20% lower than those schools that have clean water.
Yes.
Really?
And you wouldn't think water could affect your learning environment.
Absolutely.
But it shows what you're investing into those communities, right? So we want to keep good teachers in these schools. We don't want the good teachers to always be plucked into private institutions and moved out. Keep them there. It's great for students to see teachers that look like them, have the same experiences as them, and have the background, and they know where the needs are. You know, it's just different relate when you're in the community
versus bringing in someone who cannot relate to
who doesn't understand. You know, it's certain things. My mom used to say, you know, I just need to look at you. Sometimes you can look at someone and you
That's
see,
old school right there.
You know, I need to look at you because I can tell
you ain't been living
what you
right.
eat last night.
That's right. You ain't been living right.
Right.
This baby didn't eat last night. So how can I expect you to have good behavior in my class?
And you're hungry.
That's right.
Your clothes haven't been cleaned.
That's heavy. No lights at home. Because, see, just like you say, your grandmother used to feed these people and all of that.
Yes.
I used to have these same conversations with my mom, who was a teacher. We've had families sleeping at our house because they did not have lights, or spring cleaning or summertime and going back to school, and my mom would clean out our closets and take bags of clothes to her school to give them to her students. And I'm like,
yes,
lady, what you doing?
Yes, and I love it.
Would be like, who are these people
That's
in our living
though.
room?
That's
Why
real
do you
community.
have these people here? And she was like, well, my student came to school and said they did not have lights, or they didn't eat the night before. So she would not just bring things. She would go and pick this child up, all the siblings and the mother, the father, whoever, and they would be at our house until she figured out how to get them what they needed so this child could have what they needed.
And on the wages that she worked, let's talk about the remarkable act of that.
Right.
you barely have enough to cover your
she
group.
was going to clean offices and other people's houses and things like that after teaching school all day to provide for us. And my dad, I remember going to bed like weeks at a time not seeing my dad because he was out cutting grass before he went to talk school and was cutting grass after school. Trailer parked behind the school building, hooked to his truck with lawnmowers and blowers and whatever. So there were plenty of times I would wake up and go to sleep not seeing my dad. I would hear his voice, but he was gone before we got up.
And that needs to be protected. They need to be, teachers need to be given fair wages. Yeah. Cost of living is going up. And the good thing about COVID, not saying COVID is a good thing, but the good thing about it is parents had to be teachers.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
And they went back,
real.
See that teacher not lying on your child.
Yeah, they not lying on that baby. And you had to be a teacher to your child.
Right.
For over a year.
Right.
And you were like, I did not know. And so they went back with a new reverence.
On the ballot, you may vote a little different.
You go back with a new reverence and respect for that teacher. You said,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, I promise every Monday when I take my son back to school, I want to take his teacher a gift every Monday morning. And he's only been home with me 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, this lady needs an award.
Yes, and it's amazing, especially when you have a teacher that has a gift of teaching, right? It just makes the difference in a child's life.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this, Danielle. Incentives. So for the people to vote you in, what are the incentives for them to look forward to?
Well, incentives, it is me bringing the resources home.
Okay.
But I even think with that, it's a lot of collaboration. So one of the things that I believe in is community collaboration. Okay. For me to go into this seat thinking that I know everything, right, is already wrong. I need to be connected to the people like I currently am who are on the ground floor, who have the issues. Mm-hmm. Map out the solutions and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you need to do. This is what they're going to do. We're going to revisit these action items and see what's been done, how we need to change, how we need to restructure. Yeah. And the incentive is the return on your investment.
That's right.
For that accountability. I do not believe that you can have representation without accountability. And one of the good things about being in sales is they teach you ethics.
Right.
So because I'm a state licensed Texas realtor, there are ethics that I have to uphold.
Right.
And so it's easy for me because I have a fiduciary duty to my clients.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I take that fiduciary duty to the constituents of my district, and I'm held accountable.
I like that.
For the way that I represent and upholding those ethics. I cannot bring my personal preference, my personal concern into the equation in a real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. They call it obedience. They say you have to be obedient to your client.
Right.
So I have to hear what you say, take your will, and negotiate on your behalf and strategize to make sure you get most of what you want out of that deal. Right. And it's the same way in the state.
I like that.
And it's a very, very realistic perspective, right?
Right.
And then if we do the job right, you get the house.
I like that. So look, Danielle, I have a check. Hypothetically, all right? Hypothetical check, all right? It's not a real check.
Okay, you got to make it clear because we record, right? Okay.
I have a hypothetical check, and I want to donate to your campaign. How can I donate to your campaign?
You can donate by mailing to our campaign P.O. Box 8367, Houston, Texas, 77288. P.O. Box 8367, Houston, Texas, 77288. Or you can go on Act Blue online, secure.actblue.com/Bess, BESS, 4 Houston. Again, it's secure.actblue.com/Bess, BESS, 4 Houston.
And it's right there on the screen. Y'all can see it right there on the screen, everything that Danielle was talking about. Hey, look, we look forward to you running for. What's your slogan? I forgot what's your slogan.
Yes, well, the slogan is Best for Houston.
Hey.
The best is right in front of you.
That's
Only
it?
the best will do. I can go on.
What's
and
this?
On with
the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come. I have to thank my husband for that. And then my maiden name is Keys.
Okay.
So I have the best keys for your problem.
Oh, hey.
Solutions.
I see you. Look. We about to look, y'all. Look, we about to party, y'all. Look,
Let's go.
I was about to sing a gospel song. The best is yet to come, but
that is the joint.
I had to get ratchet though. I had to throw the gospel out the window.
Course.
I love the Lord, and I got a little, Bounce side.
So guys, look, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show. Make sure, look, you go to Danielle's Bess campaign. Make sure you go to her website. Make sure you donate right now. Right now, what is it, Danielle? One more time. How they can donate to your campaign?
They can donate. Well, you can actually visit my website, Bess for Houston, and it's BESSFOR, Houston.com, and you can connect with the campaign. You can give monetarily, you can give of your time and sign up as a volunteer, and you can endorse me as a candidate because it's grassroots. I want the people to support me because that is who I want to hold me up and hold me down as I serve.
That's right. I like it. I like the passion. I see the passion. I see, and look.
You see it.
Let me speak to the future. Can I speak into the future right quick? I see Danielle as our state representative for 147.
Amen.
You heard it right here.
There
it is right there.
It.
Guys, look, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show. I appreciate Danielle for coming into the show.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this conversation.
Hey, we should all hang out. I wanted to get ratchet, but I couldn't get ratchet and messy.
But you can.
Thank you for tolerating Adam.
Listen.
So guys, look, this is the Culture Instinct Podcast. This is Mr. DJ KO.
K Jack is back in the building.
She's back. Finally, she's back.
I don't know how long though.
So guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Much love to y'all. Peace.